We wish to share that experience, but we are also eager to learn from other universities with a long experience of web history. So the choice of the three partner universities is not random. In fact, I believe that the Global Classroom Consortium, call it that, is or may become a spearhead in this strongly emerging. So, on behalf of Cecilia Kristersson, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Malmö University, who is not here today, she's in Port Elizabeth, she will be joining us tomorrow, and of the rather big Malmö delegation, I thank Antoinette Helmi for putting together this ambitious conference program. We are very much looking forward to these next days together as an opportunity for sharing experiences and exchanging ideas.
Thanks a lot, Oscar. And Oscar already mentioned the whole idea of global, and I think, as you can see as well, we're local today here, but we're going out globally. You'll see on the screen, we're streaming live via Hangouts on Air. And you will see JP has put on the program for us. So there's the program online on the ComDev site, and everybody will be able to join us via the ComDev SU YouTube channel, where we'll be streaming live, and comments will be able to come in through a Twitter feed, #ComDevSU. So as we're local here, we're also global today. And as Oscar said, it's quite an ambitious program, and we also bring in the remote participants. So you'll be hearing people speaking from Flinders and Gulf, hopefully not some in their pajamas, because it's been quite a challenge in terms of time zones between the 4 continents to actually get the team together. And then, of course, I forgot to mention the University of Botswana in my opening remarks as well. So also welcome to the University of Botswana, and we'll be inviting presentations from them this afternoon as well. So yes, we're going out live. All those presentations and days will also be available after the event on YouTube. But let's just focus quickly on the local for a moment. I'm going to hand over to Helmi just now to give you some more details on day 1 and specifically welcome the presenters and the vendors that are present on day 1. On day 2, as you will see from the program, we'll be really focusing on innovation and transformation, the 2 key themes of the conference. And we've really lined up, I believe, quite an exciting group of speakers for both days. On day 2, we'll have 2 keynote presentations, one from Dr. Bertie du Plessis from NASPARS, who's also here today, and he'll be speaking on transformation. And in the morning, we'll have Peter Ace from Remgrow that will be speaking about innovation. That will then be complemented by panels consisting of university management personnel that will reflect on how does transformation innovation in terms of using technology in learning and teaching actually manifest in changing the business of how we view universities nowadays. And then that will be followed up. I see some of the case study presenters already in the audience, Karen Jacobs, for instance, that will follow up with some very hands-on practical examples of how she uses technology within her classrooms. With regards to some logistical arrangements, internet access is available. There is high bandwidth, but please rather follow live than streaming through YouTube on your computer within the venue. To accommodate remote presentations, we're really going to be extremely strict on time. We're really going to watch the clock because we're also going to bring in remote presenters, and Luzanne and JP and Travis and the team at the back are lining up those presenters, and we really want to bring them in on time. Important as well this afternoon, you've already signed up, if you haven't, for the dinner at Walterfreda Estate. Please sign up and say whether you need transport to the venue or not, and we will be able to arrange transport to the dinner as well. Then last but not least, in closing, the purpose of the event, a Seboka, a group of people meeting for a common cause. And I really hope that, as Oscar mentioned, we can start the conversations today by sharing knowledge, strategies, methodologies, plans, dreams, and yes, maybe even a few war stories that we could share in terms of using technology in teaching and learning. Professor Botman reminded me last last week of an African proverb that says, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, walk together. So I hope today begins our journey of walking together and exploring new pathways in terms of using technology in teaching and learning. Going to hand over to Helmi now for more detail on day one. Thanks, Helmi.
Thank you, Antoinette, and also welcome from my side. I'm the head of IT at the University of Stellenbosch, and technology should be transparent, and the important stuff is really the innovation and transformation on top of the technology. So my words will be relatively short, and I will try and be transparent today as well. As I said beforehand, if this project is successful and the program is successful, I'm responsible for it. If it's not, Antoinette is responsible for that. But yes, I think we're going to have an exciting day. The technology that we will be using, as Antoinette said, is Google Hangouts on Air. And the person responsible for Google in South Africa and Europe is Brett Sinclair. So if that doesn't work today, you know who's responsible. But luckily, we've got Microsoft standing in line to take over. And Bio, thank you very much for your presence as well. As Antoinette said, the event will be streamed. If you want to be on YouTube, within 7 seconds after you've put up your hand, Henny will move the camera to you, and then tonight you can show your partner what you look like on YouTube. So thank you for Henny for your focusing that on the speakers as well. The construction of the program for the first day very much technology focused, and yes, normally would think this is for IT directors only, but no, I think if the innovation and transformation can only be possible if you understand that technology. And I think the speakers that we've asked for assisting us to understand the technology includes vendors. Obviously, universities can't do technology on its own, and it really needs vendors. We selected 2 specific vendors because I think in South Africa we don't see them as vendors anymore. We see them as partners. And both those companies, Microsoft and Google, are really rated as partners at all universities. At most of the meetings we have between the IT directors in South Africa, we normally include them as well. So thank you very much for their presence. Then also the other speakers that we've included in our program includes the tertiary education network. Not only is the front end services from Microsoft and the back-end services from Google important, but also the connectivity between that. And for that connectivity, South Africa has got quite a high bandwidth network, got a 10 gigabit per second network between all 25 universities. So everything that we stream out here are visible from all the other universities at quite a high speed. And the person responsible for that, Duncan Greaves, which is the CEO of Tenet, will also make a presentation here today, and especially focusing on how that networking into Africa and into the international network, how that link is made. So that from a technology perspective. Then another one that we've got who's also a bit technology focused, but we've slipped him in on the second day, is Pieter Uys. Now Pieter Uys is with Remgrow at the moment. He has been the CEO of Vodacom. And of course, all of us are concerned with the last mile connectivity. And it is in that space where Peter can also give us a view of what the future looks like into last mile connectivity. And then obviously when we get to content, etc., directly from Naspers will inform us tomorrow and give us an exciting talk on that. So without wasting too much time, I'm going to introduce the first speaker. As you can say, the latter half of the first day is focused on remote presentations. This is really challenging the technology platform as it is described there. What can happen there, we're not 100% sure, but we've tested the Google's on air, and YouTube technology. Over the last 2 weeks, we've had 2 different conferences, and it was unbelievable how good that quality rolled out to be. And I think we're very optimistic that whatever we do here today will set the standard. We hope, we hope, set the standard for how to communicate globally and how to create those work groups globally within Hangouts on Air. I'm sure a lot of you haven't heard of Hangouts on Air yet, but I think after this conference you would know what that means. And we will be promoting the same concepts within the other universities in South Africa very soon as well. Okay, but that's now probably enough, and I'm getting the signal from Antoinette to stop talking. So if I can, Brett, if I can introduce you. Brett Sinclair is from Google and responsible for all the Google applications in education, and not only for universities but also for the industry in Europe as well. And yes, this is where Google makes their money, and hopefully they can make a lot of money in the industry so that they can provide better services and more services freely to universities. So Brett, thank you for being here. We look forward to your presentation. And while Brett was constructing his PowerPoint, we had a telephone call, and I said, Brett, I'm going to commit your company in terms of funding. I think I mentioned it a few yesterday with all the rectors, that we've got unlimited funding support from Google. And I said, Brett, I just want to make sure I don't say something that's not true. And he said, Helmy, don't worry. If you back me on everything I say, I will back you on everything you say. So in that sense, Brett, I thank you in anticipation for your support, not only for higher education in South Africa, but also higher education in Africa, Sweden, Denmark, UK, etc. And yes, I think the next conference will be at other continents, and if we don't perform here, I will move my focus. Thank you for that.
Good morning, everybody. How are you guys feeling? Relaxed, excited? I tell you what, I'm pretty passionate about everything that we do, and I'm a passionate South African. And I guess I want to start this off with a quick disclaimer. A, I am not an educator. B, I scraped through school. And C, I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn. So today what I want to try to do is get you guys as excited as I am, both about the new world of the internet and how this is going to revolutionize all forms of education. I don't know if anyone's heard of Project X within Google. Anyone heard of Project X at all? It's not an algebraic X. It's an X to be solved with some crazy ideas. So I'm going to start off with this show talking about how do we do a bit of moonshot thinking. Now, moonshot thinking sounds like a crazy concept. And essentially what it is you shoot for the stars and you land on the moon. What it is to stop iterating and to stop just improving by 10% and rather look at how we're going to improve by tenfold. Now, I suggest you go Google Solve4X. It's an organization where a bunch of engineers, passionate people from all types of industry are looking at how do we take that tenfold maneuver into improving our lives. And some of the examples they use is, if we're going to solve the problem of transportation and petrol, it's no good taking the existing car and saying, how do we drive 800 miles on the clock? But let's rather shoot for the moon and say, how do we drive the car 8,000 miles? Because then what that requires is a complete rethink. Not to think about, well, we need a car with 2 wheels. Yes, we need a combustion engine. Yes, we need to have passengers. Yes, you need to be able to drive it. You have to rethink the entire concept of transportation. So that's what I want to start getting you guys thinking about today. How are we going to take moonshot thinking into revolutionizing our space in education, both globally in the developed markets, but also in the emerging markets. We really need to rethink a couple of key issues, and we're going to delve into those issues today. So in Google, I want to share with you a couple of our moonshot thinking ideas, just to kind of get you guys inspired. And I guess, you think about what Google was. We were a one-trick pony, got to do with search. And then suddenly we just thought, let's do a bit of moonshot thinking, and let's get into email. And let's really kind of blow this out the water tenfold. Then we thought, what we can also do? Let's reshape TV. Let's get into the world of YouTube. Let's really do a huge moonshot kind of approach. Now, you think what we used to, we're search engineers. That's a bold move. But it kind of makes sense now. Then we thought, what? And I would love to have been in the boardroom when some fool said, why don't we map the world with 3D photos of every single street? You can imagine the executive team, and how do we make money? I have no idea. Great, we'll sign that one off. Let's go do it. And Street View was born. And now picture a world without Street View. Look at all the business applications of Street View. And we've been talking to security firms who want to map out mines so that their security team make the mines safer. So it's a very exciting space. Now in Google, we've decided we're going to keep on doing this tenfold thinking with our Project X team. And this is one of our first projects, Google Glass. Everyone familiar with Google Glass? Now that's changing the way the internet is consumed. When I say internet, what are you thinking? A browser, right? You think I'm going to go to my browser, I'm going to start browsing. I'm going to change the way you think of the internet. And if you say internet to a child or someone in, say, emerging markets where mobile devices rule, they think, looking down, I have no idea what's in front of me. What a dreadful society we're creating. Why shouldn't we have a society that should be looking up, embracing the world, and engaging with technology? And that's where the concept of Glass came along. And Glass is all about interactive voice commands, motion, touch, understanding, all these different elements from YouTube to Street View to mapping to voice recognition to search. So it's pulling all our technologies together. So it seems like an obvious thing to do. Now if we can cue the video, I want to share with you the experience of wearing Google Glass. Guys, cue. You're getting a quick demo on how Hangout Air works. That's a great example of global, where you're pulling together communities, families from all over the world, and you're sharing your experience real time. And that's the most important part, is real time. And then capturing those moments and sharing it on and storing it so you can revisit these moments. So we're combining all these different technologies, from navigating to finding things, to getting to your flight on time, to sharing a crazy experience with the snake crawling up your arm with your kid in another country. So it's a really exciting space. And how do we start taking this technology and start making it relevant in the classroom, in the lecture halls? But that's going to be the challenge. So today, I'm not going to come to you with a solution. It's up to you guys, who are the experts in your field and domains, to start understanding this technology and how do we adapt, how do we make it work within our ecosystems. So let's start with the classroom. So think about it, this environment that we're kind of working in every day, how much has that innovated? I would personally say it has innovated as much as a toilet. I know that sounds crazy. It's a crazy statement to put out there, but let's think about the toilet. So the toilet, what else has it been doing? I mean, for centuries, we've gone to the toilet, we've done our business, we flushed it, water has taken care of that, and we get up and we walk off. How much has a toilet innovated? Yes, the design has got fancier, but really, how much has a toilet innovated? So now, let's think about the classroom environment. Let's think about, say, an hours-long lecture. And what happens with human concentration is that right now, 30% of you are concentrating on what I'm saying. Your concentration levels are up and down, and you're kind of transforming and trying to get an understanding of what you just heard. 30%, another 30% of you guys are thinking about how great the tea and coffee was. I mean, I personally was thinking, where was the sugar? But honey will do. And then the other 30% are still going, toilet? So what can we do to start rethinking this environment? How can we use the internet to scale what you do? How do we use the internet to share it with everybody? Knowledge is power. We're sitting with a problem at the moment called the digital divide. And the digital divide is far worse than the poor-rich divide. And the digital divide is the difference between connected users and unconnected users. And the key point there is knowledge. We're falling further behind if you're not connected, because the rate at which the connected are advancing is tenfold. So I'm going to talk about a couple of key thinkers in the space who are not necessarily educators. Some are, some aren't. But I want to pose a couple of questions and kind of look at how they're thinking about the world, which is a couple of key questions. Is everyone familiar with Seth Godin? Now, Seth Godin, he's a social entrepreneur. He always talks about how the connected world is very social and what these dynamics do to impact business, marketing, and he's starting to look at what does social do on the education front. And he asks one question: what is school for? That's a great question. And I'm sure all of you going, you're a nut, Brett. I can tell you what school is for. And he kind of starts right at the beginning, and he's saying, well, how did we start? Why did people go to school? Why did we line up people in uniform rows and we teach them in a disciplined environment and we ensure that they all study from the same textbooks? Because what we're trying to do is prepare them for the world of business. In fact, when it started, we were preparing them for the blue-collared worker. The worker that's going to go into the manufacturing lines to produce cars. The worker that was part of the industrial age. And he asks one question: what is school for? So let's start thinking about that. Another great thinker in the space is Seboka. I don't know if you're all familiar with Hole in the Wall. It's a great experiment, where again he asks one question: can everyone learn? And his experiment is really Do I take a computer and I just knock a hole in my wall, and that's how I started, where there were a whole lot of primary school kids out there, and I just put a machine there, and I don't tell them a thing, but I ask them one question. I'm going to come back in 6 months, and I want you to tell me about, I think it was algebra or something like that, or hypotheses or something. I can't remember the actual question. And he gave the kids 3 months, and the kids all gathered together, and they worked out their own hierarchy. Some guys had to teach each other how to learn a mouse. Others had to learn English. Others had to learn the programs. Others had to learn what the internet was about. But everyone was able to learn. And 3 months later, you came back and the questions were being answered. In fact, he was surprised because questions were not only being answered, but it was at such a high level with not much guidance. But there's this hunger for kids, for people to want to learn, to empower themselves. I'm assuming everyone's familiar with Salman Khan. And there he asked the question, can everyone teach? And that's a great concept because we're all teachers. We're either teachers to our kids, we're teachers to our colleagues, or you're professionals. And you're going out there and you're trying to teach at scale. And he starts asking the question about scale. So how do we scale education? And he comes from a financial background. I think he's an ex-stockbroker. And he was literally just helping his cousins with maths and discovered that he too could teach. He too could scale his message and teach. When you start looking at what he's managed to develop, and I've just taken a screenshot of my kid's performance in a certain math subject. I have a 10-year-old son, Matthew, who has some difficulties, some learning difficulties and stuff like that, and was always struggling at maths. And you think, Khan University, it's really scary, Fort University, 10-year-old. Poor kid must have been nervous when I said, guess what, we're going to do this every Saturday morning. He's gone from a just passing maths to the most passionate mathematician. He's getting A's left, right, and center because he spends 1 hour a week on his Chrome device, plugged into the world of mathematics, and is loving every single moment of it. And he loves it because he's not being taken down a structured route. He's going to where his strengths are. And this is what's great. We're looking at why do we have to follow a particular path? Why not follow a path that best suits what you're doing? So that's an interesting thought too. Now remember, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just sharing some ideas of other great minds. So now there's still some challenges to start making this happen in the emerging markets. If you're in my world, this is the most common picture on the planet. Here is Africa in 2009. And thanks to the efforts of a lot of my colleagues and competitors and mobile operators and fixed line and cable guys, look at the difference. We're taking the Rainbow Nation to Africa in the form of connectivity. So we've solved the first problem of connectivity. How do we bring the internet to Africa? We've still got other problems. So what are those other problems? Has anyone seen this? Anyone know about Project Loon? Project Loon. Love the idea. It's a project that we're working on, Project X project, where we're calling it Loon because it's a loony idea. And secondly, it's about balloons. Floating balloons in the sky and controlling the balloons by adjusting the height and catching the various airstreams. Sounds easy enough. But when you've got 10,000 balloons up there and you're trying to cluster these balloons who are solar powered and have 3G connectivity, covering the whole of Africa at a price and investment less than putting a satellite up for 10 years. It requires mass computing power to be able to understand which weather or what the weather situation is for every single balloon. So when one balloon gets caught in a jet stream at 400 kilometers per hour flying over the Atlantic, we're able to raise it up and turn it around and cluster it back in. Maybe that's a way to solve connectivity within Africa. Because we got to rethink how we distribute connectivity to the next 5 billion. It's taken us 30 years to distribute cell phone technology and get the richest of the rich connected. And we've done a good job, and the mobile operators have done a great job in doing it. But how do we get the next 5 billion connected in a matter of 2-3 years? So we need moonshot thinking here. This moonshot thinking, in fact, there's a photo of the balloon. It's actually being trialed in New Zealand at the moment. And if it works, what a crazy thought. Now, this moonshot thinking is happening in South Africa too. CSIR, Tenant, a couple of guys from Google, we're all working on a project called TV Whitespace. It's just passed through some great trials with ICASA, and there we're looking at how do we solve that last mile problem. How do we solve that last mile? Helmi mentioned it. Last mile is the key problem. How do we make money as a business and still deliver a sustainable last mile connection to that last 5 billion? So then the next problem is, that's great, we're solving the connectivity issues, but we're still stuck with devices. Is Android low-cost device the right device? It's now down to the 500 Rand mark. Thank you, MTN. The walker that MTN are doing. That's great. And we're going to see that price plummet. And in the industry, we know the secret sauce of getting devices spread at mass scale is actually below the 250 Rand. But is the Android mobile device the right device? And I'm just putting the question out there. Is it a tablet? And the CSR are doing some amazing things with ITC for Red, is that right? And ITC for Red is all about, does the Android or does a tablet device work? Now in our world, a tablet is a tertiary device. We get a phone, we get our laptops, and it's a nice to have tertiary device. Is this the right device that's going to help us get this technology and education into the next 5 billion? Or is it one laptop for every child? And I'm putting that out there because laptops, and take a Chromebook, is now down to $199. And I just look at the impact it had on my own children who have, I think the Chromebook was their 10th device. Being with a father looking after Google Enterprise, I tend to spoil them with that kind of technology. But they've ditched all their devices. They don't use their mobile phones unless it's Clash of Clans. Okay? They don't use their tablets. They spend their lives on a Chromebook. And they're there because they only know the world that is connected. Try explain to a bunch of 10-year-olds what internet connection is. It's just there. The difference, like, why is Wi-Fi not everywhere, Dad? What a great question. Why isn't Wi-Fi everywhere? So we're starting to, we've got a generation of kids and students who are growing up in the cloud. How many people are on Facebook? You're on Facebook. Oh, I had the scariest show last week called the IT Leaders Summit, where we had most of South Africa's CIOs in a room and asked them the same question. And the two bravest souls at the back put their hands up. And it's scary because these are ICT leaders. And if you're going to understand cloud and you're going to understand this technology, you need to embrace it. You need to immerse yourselves in it. And Facebook's the first example of us trusting the cloud because it's where we store our photos. Most personalized, precious memories are being stored in a public cloud. Says all the CIOs. Well, I banned that from my network. So we've got kids that are going on the cloud. So what does that enable kids to do? It enables kids to collaborate. I mean, it sounds like a crazy idea, but the world of collaboration is the future. There's no I in team. I often joke there is an ME. So what does that mean? And I picture my first day as a Noogler. And this is one of the exercises we give to all our new Googlers. Cheesy. So as a Noogler, they say, we've got this project. We want you to build a site and a business strategy for a real estate business. You have to take the concept, build it, present it to everybody. You've got 1 hour and you have a team of 12. Go. And what you see everybody do is they rush off and everyone's on their laptops and they're grafting away and each person's being given a specific task to go do the work and everyone's building their own deck. And the teams that win the challenge that get it done within an hour are the teams that sit with one person sitting there taking control. Everyone's still on their laptops, but everybody's working on the same deck. Everybody's collaborating. There's no shouting. I can imagine the chat stream is going ballistic, but no one's shouting. It's very calm, and everyone's collaborating. Whereas the teams that are not collaborating, you have the worst case scenario where it's one person on a laptop and everyone is barking orders because everyone's a leader, especially in 1 hour. So how do we teach people to collaborate in the cloud? Then we've got to start looking about what is in the cloud. We have content. And we have, literally, if you look at YouTube, there's 100 hours of content being uploaded every single minute. That's crazy. That's a huge amount of content. How do we get through this? YouTube's the second largest search engine on the planet. Because guess what it does? How do I do this? That's the most common search term. How to. How to do this. How to do that. And I got the best example was actually with my son. No, it's actually my daughter, Lily. She's 8 years old. Dad, how do I do long division? So I kind of went, that's easy. I go back to the Google office and I put this question out to a bunch of really intelligent Googlers. At least I thought. And everyone sat there kind of umming and ahhing about how do we do long division. And that's when I realized, and sadly at the time I was looking after YouTube, that I should YouTube it. And what did I find? The top ranking video with the most amount of views, which is clearly telling me from a social perspective that this is the content that's working well. I have no idea who this individual is, but I'm going to watch their video anyway. And I went home and I said to my daughter, I am not going to teach you how to do long division, but Dad, I'm going to teach you how to do everything. Now go to YouTube and ask it, how do? And what did she do? She did it. She found the long division, and she was able to learn at her own pace. Stopping, going backwards, stopping, going backwards. Her homework, which had 3 digits long, was peanuts because she was doing 12-digit long numbers. Bring it on. How exciting is that? So now we're taking YouTube, which kind of scaled video production, and we're starting to say, oh, hold on, we've revolutionized how video content's made. It's no longer the realm of the film manufacturer. Hey, Steve Spielberg, guess what? I'm Brett Sinclair and I have a camera. And that's what YouTube's done. And in fact, South Africa, we have this incredible base of YouTubers. Does everyone know, what's his name again? Oh, Casper Lee. Anyone know Casper Lee? What a kid, man. He's 18 years old now. At 16, he started his YouTube channel. He's sitting with just short of 2 million followers. To give you an idea how big that is, BBC Knowledge sits with 800,000. Sorry, BBC Worldwide sits with 800,000. This kid is killing it on YouTube, and he's South African. And there's many more other South Africans who understand this platform. So immerse yourselves in it. So Hangout on Air is taking the broadcast world. Anyone from SABC? Watch out. There's going to be a child that's going to come along and challenge you because they've got the platform that's going to scale their ability to broadcast. In fact, SABC, watch out for Stellenbosch University. He's a professional crew here. So cue the video. I want to show you a couple of examples of how people are using Hangout Airs within the classroom. That is a Hangout Air session, by the way. So it is live. Everyone who is watching, hello.
About a year ago, introduced Hangouts.
not here. Probably not. So I'm going to wrap up here. Actually going to jump to the last slide. So you've got all these technologies, and I think what we do in the real world is we try focus on the technology, when what we should be doing is don't worry about the technology. The technology looks after itself. Have you ever taught yourselves how to use maps? Have you ever taught yourselves how to use mail? Did you require someone to teach you how to do it? Technology is intuitive. What's important is the content. So how do we take this content to the next level? And I just wanted to pose an idea. Education as a business. Now, in the world of business, and the world of business online, there's something called the long tail. And the long tail in education, as you can see, you've got the head here, and this is a concept by Chris Anderson, ex-editor of Wired and now the current director of TED. And essentially this is what Amazon does and all the big e-commerce guys. So traditionally you've got your head where all your where you have storage, where you have classrooms, where you have teachers, where you have salespeople, and you're able to deliver a high level of education to the top half of the audience. So how do we use the internet to scale and reach the rest? How do we scale and reach the rest in a low-cost form, with low margin, but still makes sense? And there's a story going around with one of the Project X guys was talking to one of the professors at Stanford University when they first started doing MOOCs. And their first MOOC, which is massive online courses for anyone who doesn't know, is using this technology. And they essentially fired up their first MOOC and they had 100,000 participants. And it was really successful, and loads of people got to watch and learn, and they got to change their world just on one subject. And when asked by the Google X guy was, so why would you want to do that? As a Stanford, surely you want everybody to be in your classrooms and pay crazy fees. And his response was, I've just had 100,000 people watch. Imagine if we charged them $10. I've now got $1 million classroom. What could I do with the resources to help improve the classroom environment, to provide better education? So I was able to sell it at a far less cost, but make a far greater margin. And that's called scaling education. So today, I hope that you're going to see that innovation is not about building websites. Innovation is not about building projects, but it's a movement. So hopefully today I've challenged you to think tenfold, and I've challenged you to start answering Seth Godin's question, what is school? So let's start teaching kids about not an industrial age, but about the industrial internet. Thank you.
Any questions from
have the opportunity to hear a panel discussion. Thank you, Fred.
Coming from the medical field, obviously mainly dealing with technology, any new technology as a side effect. I wanted to hear what your point is about electromagnetic radiation sensing. The first one has just been diagnosed at MIT postgraduate student. It's completely incapacitated. That's from
So I'm not an expert in wireless technology, Wi-Fi. I think that's kind of one of the interesting points we've got to deal with. Is every service that we offer needs to be safe for human beings. And you start thinking about the heat phones generate in your pockets and what's the long-term effect. You've got to be careful because also the greater good is also important. So how do we find the balance? So we don't want to, we want to keep a record even better than, say, flight. So how do we make sure that the technologies that we're providing, and that's just wireless backbones, is safer than flight could ever be, should never affect us. And there's some interesting technologies out there which are starting to challenge and work at that. So, I guess also controversial, things like P-cell. P-cell is literally bringing down the power consumption on the wireless frequencies, as well as also amplifying the number of signals. So again, we've got to be very careful with the long-term. So I guess the kind of bigger question is, the world is going to get more wireless. The world is going to get more frequency. So how do we manage that? I don't know.
Thank you, Brett. Just say thank you to you, tradition Stellenbosch, pride. Okay, thank you, Brett. Our next speaker is Stefan Rotler, of Stellenbosch delegates. On back, five. Bonds, St. Pat, Rainbow Denny, I think here's one looking good that how they
in such a short time? I don't know. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come here to Stellenbosch University again and to this conference. The first time in Stellenbosch was, I think, 9 months ago, and had a pleasant stay here in Stellenbosch and lovely. It was really great to see a little part of a great country. So I'm very happy to be back. Let's see how much I can actually do in this 20 minutes that I have. First of all, I like to start and make a presentation, a little bit short background on myself and on the university, so you know who I am. So my name is Stefan Rodheim, and I manage a department at Dalarna University called Next Generation Learning Center. And Next Generation Learning Center is both a technical and a pedagogical department. So we work quite widely with the questions about net-based learning. I will probably use distance learning, net-based learning, web-based learning, or all kinds of terminologies about this area. So you have to excuse me for that. I started to work at the university in 2000, and in 2001, me and a colleague got a question: what can we do with this distance learning? At that time, we had, I think, 5 distance courses. I had one, my colleague had one, and that when we begin. So since 2002, I have been working full time with distance learning net-based learning. So I will, in this short presentation, tell you about Dalarna University and how we work with Adobe Connect and how we work with a tool that we call the video chats. I will concentrate on these two tools today. A little bit short about our university. Dalarna University is a medium-sized university. Maybe you will hear some more about it later on, because we have a presentation tomorrow afternoon also, when Andrew Casson is going to tell you a little bit more of our university. We have two campuses. It's about 20 kilometers between these campus sites, and we are almost 17,000 students. 6,000 students are studying on campus and 11,000 are studying online. So we are a dual mood university, which I think is really good, because we can take the best from both worlds and combine them. And as we see, hopefully in the future, we will no longer talk about net-based students or campus students. We will talk about students. We have some really interesting projects in that area, especially in healthcare, where the students are choosing from day to day if they are going to be at campus or on net. So it's really interesting project. We can talk about it later on if you are more interested. So a little bit more, some statistics. Some are interested in statistics. This is how the development have been since 2002, when we started this, should I say, not project anymore, but what can we do with net-based learning? So, as I told you, we started with 5 courses in 2002, and we have some really tough year in the beginning. So you can see from 2002 to 2005, we have some really hard work to do in the area of developing this. And in 2005, something happened. And I think what made this huge climb in this area was that we actually started to convert language courses to do it on the net instead of the campus. And I don't know how many times I've heard, well, you know, language courses on the net, that's really difficult. It's almost impossible. And then we have this Italian little woman, I should say, really Italian in all the manners. She was quite enthusiastic about this, and she said, no, it's going to work. We will try, you and me together. Let's go. So we started that in 2004, and it's rapidly expanded. So we have, today I think we have 11 languages online. All are web-based, all are online. At most we have had 13 languages online. So of course it works. But I think to do as we did then, to start with something that's everyone says difficult or almost impossible, that was good. For whoever came after and said, no, you know, my area, my subjects here, they are too difficult to do. No, if you can do language, you can do anything. I think it's that way. So, as you can see, in 2007, we have more students online than we had on campus. Well, I should talk about, as I told you, about 2 of our learning environments. And the one I should begin with is Adobe Connect. We have no representative from Adobe, I think, so I'm no representative for them neither. But I will talk about how we working with Adobe Connect. And we have a lot of activities in our Connect installation. We have our own portal, our Connect portal, and we call it a meeting portal because we think in our ways of doing education in programs and in courses, the meetings are very important, and the discussions. So we have a meeting portal, and we have And we have about 1,000 unique logins per day during semesters. And as you see, and at the top there, you have an, oh, you can't see it, it's too small. We have something called the HEA Cafe. It's HEA is a shortage for a Swedish name, a cafe. In our cafe, we always have support personnel, the ICT pedagogicals who are there from 8 in the morning to 10 in the evening, all weekdays, not on the weekends. So when our teachers are having lectures or seminars or whatever they have in this portal in Connect, they can always say, if they have some technical problems from the students, they can say, if you go to the cafe, someone will take care of you there. So the teacher doesn't have to know almost anything about technique at all. And this is one of the things I hear from the teachers all the time. I wouldn't have dared to try this if you haven't got this NGL center, if you hadn't been there for us in the cafe. So cafe is very important for both our teachers and our students to provide support. And if I look at 2013, we have 25,500 support calls in our cafe during the years of 2013. So, of course, sometimes it's not a difficult support. It's very simple sometimes. Can you hear me? I think that is the most common question we get at the cafe. But it's really important if you're going to have a seminar or an oral exam or something that you actually can make yourself heard. So 25,000 support calls every year. We have 55 meeting rooms. I have a hard time to stand still. I just want to go to the screen and point, but I will try to stand here. You really can hear me. We have 55 meeting rooms that can be booked from our teachers. So we are just as they booking some kind of lecture halls, classrooms, and the campus, they book these rooms at Adobe Connect. And we also have 40 student rooms that can't be booked. Just as in campus, our students want to study together. These have these studies areas or these small group rooms that they can sit and study together. We want to have the same way online. And some of our study rooms at the campus are combined to be both online and on campus. So if you can be someone sitting everywhere in the world, and some of the students are sitting on campus. And the third tab there contains all kind of project rooms. And I think the most important is, or not important, but interesting, is that our university board has their own room there. So the university board has meetings online also. Okay, we should enter. I would like to present for you a recording now from a seminar. There we have.
It like this. I'm going to read these words one by one, well, using my regular RP-ish accent, and then I will ask someone else to read these words in a more American accent. Okay? Who would like to do that for you? Do we have anyone who would like to be the American first? All right. So Alexandra, I'll read these words first, and then you can read.
Okay.
So
if you lower the volume, we can talk at the same time, and we can still look at it.
Actually, we can do this.
This is a quite normal
I'll just read
seminar
the words.
in
Table,
Dalarna University.
paper,
You see the
written, mad,
pictures.
calm,
Using
step,
the teacher are using
talk,
webcam. Some of the
missile,
students are.
leisure.
We have
Alexandra?
a pod there for the attendees, a pod for text chat, and the big area here is kind of a whiteboard. You can share whatever you like. It's nothing unique with this. For one thing that we have done that after a lot of discussions with our teachers and a lot of thoughts with our support personnel,
that was really well done.
we don't give our teachers options to actually put
There's
the
just one
pods where
thing
they
I
want
would
to
like
have them.
to.
Standard for Adobe
Just
Connect.
2 words I would
But the
like
teachers are putting out these
like
pods
to
and,
know,
and can
yeah.
move it around
The last 2 words.
because
The ones that I
it was a
pronounced
little
is
bit
missile
too
and
difficult for
measure.
our teachers. We want to be
Measure?
so easy as it can be. So we have 5 standard setups for the teachers. So if you're a teacher, this is a student who
Those
have
would be
you can
the most common
during
implementations of the
a seminar you can
IJ.
shift. So if you want to focus
Now,
on
once
the
you've heard all
faces,
these
if you
words,
want to
let me
focus
ask
on
the
looking
question
at the
again.
webcams, you just change the setup
Where did
with
you
one-
not hear any significance
one click.
in
Yeah.
cases?
So it's very simple for the teachers to use. So we have this for them to use. We have a 2-hour course for them. That's not optional. You have to go this kind of short education to use Adobe Connect at Dalarna University. Well, this is very short. If you see this on the portal again, we have these meeting rooms. If you put the marker on the name of the room, you can't do that now. You see the participants in the room, and you see what course it is, and you see the name of the teacher. That's because we don't want anyone to go around and logging into a room and see, oh, that's not my lecture, that's not my seminar. Oh, I'll leave. So that's we have made this kind of function in Adobe Connect. All right, I will go on and take the next one, and that's the video chat. What's the video chat? That's not unique in any way. Also, but I think one thing is unique that in Dalarna University, and that is that I should tell you about the video chat. What is it first? It's a tool that we have built for ourselves at Dalarna University. That is for live streaming and recording from our lecture halls in classrooms. At all the times, if you go to our website tju.se, you can see that we are live streaming, and it's open for anyone in the whole world to see. So we have, I think it's 12 or 13 lecture halls right now that we are live sending. As soon as the teachers chooses from this lecture hall to live stream, that will show on our website. And that is really interesting. We had a lot of visitors actually just browsing to see, oh, I wonder what they are telling about the Dalarna University today. Maybe something that's interesting for me. So it's for live streaming and it's for recording. And we should look at it from the student view again. Oh, sorry. Need a little bit of help. Yeah.
Kan man ju inte säga att vi ska släppa målet att alla ska bli godkända, för då har vi så att säga gett upp. Vi måste ju så att säga, men att man också när man får sina anmärkningar, att man så att säga också väger in de sakerna.
Och det gör man inte.
Nej, eftersom då förordningen ser ut som de gör, så att säga, alltså ingen skugga ska ju falla på inspektörerna, för att de gör ju enligt de instruktioner som de har.
Men jag tänker också på det var någon sån där som du hade. Ja, men det var någon, här var det någon som du visade också. Jag kan inte låta bli att i nuläget gilla åtstramningar och bestämmelser om mindre lokal frihet. Det känns samtidigt hemskt, men jag tror att det är det enda möjliga för en del skolor. Precis som Sofie säger så handlar det om personalens och individers personliga inställning idag. Och det funkar ju inte om det ska vara likvärdigt.
Jag får bara säga då, den här Finnish lesson som jag hade kommit att prata om, men vad Pasis bevisar är att det finska utbildningssystemet då skiljer sig då när det gäller förbättringsåtgärder och utvecklings ifrån vad som sker i världen i övrigt. Där har man just då väldigt mycket av lokal frihet för rektorer, för lärare att lägga upp sin undervisning. Men man har också lärare har en väldigt hög status i Finland, också väldigt det är en lång utbildning, magisterutbildning, och det är väldigt många som söker till det skulle leda långt och vidareutveckla det. Men det här är inte några lätta frågor, och vad som är då den enda och riktiga lösningen. Vi kommer över lite grann på vårt projekt och utveckling.
And a very, very short introduction for them. I think, Antoinette, didn't you try it when you were visiting us? And it's quite easy. Yeah, she's nodding here. So it's very, very easy to use. And we have, in 2013, we did 4,000 lectures that we recorded and saved and made it possible for our students to watch all over again and again and again. So I think it's a really great tool for the students to watch it again and again. And that's one of the things we hear from our students. Time flies, and I would like to finish with something interesting. Both this video chat and this Connect is used a lot in this really interesting program we have in midwifery at Hargeisa University in Somaliland. So we had a midwifery education, a master program there, and we use these tools a lot. And this sign, I think, concludes everything about our journey in this net-based learning area. The road to success is always under construction. And with that, I would like to say thank you for me.
That step, physical class, virtual class, like creating those 50 classrooms, virtual classrooms, they are physical. Yeah, that's a good mindset. Any questions for Stefan? I'm sure created some thoughts there.
Yeah, I'm Johan Rowe from Stellenbosch University. One of your first slides, you showed the trend in terms of your online students versus the physical residential student, and it was then more than 60% online students. My question is, these students, where are they from? Are they from the region? Are they from all over Sweden? Are they international? And to follow up, are there a group of students who makes sort of use of both? They would physically attend lectures, and the online is almost like an additional learning environment? Or are there students who are only online, who never go there physically? I mean, how do you sort of integrate these different groups? I'd just be interested in the demography, really, of students.
Yeah, I can say most of our students, online students, are in Sweden, from Sweden. We have students, I think, in 56 countries nowadays. But it's a whole lot of Swedish citizens who are out traveling or working in other places all around the world. So we have I think we have a lot of backpacking studies, us traveling around. So we have a hard time just keeping up with them. So I think we are widely spread all over Sweden. So we are